Hi guys, this is Mage, also known as Fizz from NSI Gaming. This is a video of our first guild run through Ascalonian Catacombs. I'll be giving commentary on anything I learned or any tactics that we used in this instance. We completed this run with a Guardian, a Warrior, Engineer, and 2 Necromancers. Okay, once you come into the first room, you'll get a pull, and be very careful if you have anybody, or if you do interact with any of the coffins, you have the potential to spawn more adds, which can make this first fight really hard, which is what we had happen because we had somebody who was running this for the first time. And just basically you'll want to kite the warriors because they have a stun and they can dish out quite a bit of damage, and the elementalists, if there are any in this room, will drop AoEs that you'll want to stay out of, and the mesmers have the potential to reflect projectiles. Rangers, if any spawn, can drop spike traps that will deal lots of damage, cripple you, and poison, so stay spread out. Okay, as you can see, I'm checking to make sure the room's clear, and then what happened is we designated one person to open up coffins. So we opened one coffin at a time, cleared the trash that came out, and then moved on. Eventually you'll end up finding the mini-boss in one of these coffins, but until then, pretty much clear the trash, be careful. You don't want to open up too many coffins at one time, because then you're just opening this huge can of worms that nobody's going to know how to deal with, and you're all going to run out of endurance, so you're not going to be able to dodge anything, you're going to run out of heals, you're going to run out of elites, and everything's just going to go to hell. So make sure that you're pretty careful about this. As you can see, if you are careful, it's fairly easily. We had our warrior running tank DPS hybrid, our guardian was a tanky support, and our necros were a mixture of support and damage. Okay, we just found the mini boss, and as you can see, you'll want to save your dodge for that smash that he does, and he'll wind up right there to do a knockdown, which you'll also want to save your dodge for, and he'll occasionally throw bolos like he does right about right now. And then you can save CC breakers like I tried to do, or other things to get out of that, but in general, try to stay away from him. We probably, in retrospect, should have focused the necromancer first, because as you can see, he's dropping that annoying AoE, which is kind of making this fight a little bit harder than it should be. A good idea is to keep the mini-boss CC'd so that it's harder for him to close the gap to you. In a second, after we finish off this necromancer, you'll see him try to come after me, and I just keep him mobilized and chilled so that he can't get to me. Well, after he knocks me down, of course. I think it's this bit right here, but like I said, try to keep your distance, keep him kited. He deals a lot of damage, so like that dodge right there. And if you're getting low, don't be afraid to get out of there and just get some regen or something, even if you're a melee class, because you're not going to do your group any good just sitting on the ground throwing rocks, because if someone decides they want to come in and try and save you, that's all fine and dandy if they save you, but if they don't, well, you have the potential to have 2 people downed, which is very bad, because then it just kind of goes to hell from there. But yeah, there's not much of this fight left. I mean, he's almost low. Not much else that I can think of adding to make this fight easier for anybody in the future. But I can't stress how much kiting him, or any bosses for that matter, in CC will help you. Okay, once you finish him off, he'll open up the next door, and this room is filled with tons of traps. There's 2 adds down there. We decided to send in one person, an engineer, because I had the one skill which made me invincible, or invulnerable pretty much, so I could just avoid all the traps. And this pull was a teeny bit difficult, just because I think we weren't really prepared for this dungeon at this point. But it looks like we got elementalist maybe, or a ranger, and a mesmer. So just make sure that if you don't have enough room down there, kite the group back into this room so that you have room to avoid any AoEs or anything that, you know, might damage you too much. But it should be fairly easy. Like I said, make sure that you save your dodge rolls for when you actually need them, excuse me. Otherwise you're going to need it and then you're not going to have it. Then in this tunnel, there's a small group, and we decided to have one person slow them and then pull them back out so we'd have room, because the pull has a warrior, a mesmer, and an elementalist. We actually got pretty lucky for this pull. I'm not sure how I managed to do it. We only pulled the mesmer and the warrior. So what we did is I tried to keep the warrior CC'd and locked down, so when he tried to run at our squishies or even our melee classes, he wouldn't be able to stun them or just pretty much ruin their day. And then in the meantime, we had everybody focus the mesmer, and as you can see, this actually worked out fairly well. Shortly he goes down. I mean, pretty tough. They have self-heals, I believe, so they aren't necessarily easy to kill, so it's not, you can focus them, but it might be a little difficult. And so what happened after this is I was going to try and pull the elementalist because I was wondering where it went, and we ended up pulling it, and then we decided to pull it back because we didn't want to get caught in the tunnel with that AoE, because that AoE pretty much covers a whole chunk of the tunnel and there's nowhere you can go aside from forwards or backwards. So it's really bad, but yeah, this elementalist went down pretty quick, and we proceeded to the next room where when you go up the stairs you'll encounter 2 rangers and a warrior. Like I said, you might want to spread out because these ranger traps hurt a bit. We didn't quite manage to spread out effectively here, so it kind of hurt, and a few of us went down and maybe even died here, I can't quite remember. But try to keep that warrior CC'd, because that stun, it doesn't help at all. And if you have any condition removal to get rid of the poisons or cripples, that would be brilliant. Any regens or anything, maybe a wall of reflection at the foot of the stairs to reflect anything that the archers decide that they rangers want to shoot down. I mean, that would be nice. Here we actually line of sighted the rangers, and so we decided to go ahead and burn the warrior since he was stunning us and kind of screwing us over. And then what happened is one of the rangers, I believe, nope, they both stayed up there. One of them comes down eventually, and then we just kind of focus him. But try to spread out. If you are resurrecting somebody, be very careful. The rangers will probably drop one of their spike traps on you, so just be sure to have a dodge or something else ready to get out of that. But other than that, this pull should be fairly simple in the grand scheme of things. I know going into this it was a little difficult because going from open world PvP, or PvE rather, sorry, to this kind of PvE, it's really difficult. You need to really watch how you're using your skills and everything, so just keep that in mind. And then once you finish this group, you'll head up the stairs, obviously, and encounter another trap room. We decided to do the same thing that we did for the first trap room, which was send in one person invincible to avoid most of the traps and disable them all for the rest of the group to come in. Except this time you will get another mini-boss. This mini-boss was actually fairly simple, and should be fairly simple, I hope, because it's ranged, has a few knockbacks here and there. I mean, you can dodge them if you're paying attention when she turns to shoot at you, but other than that, she'll just stand there and you just pretty much tank and spank her the whole entire time. Obviously it's going to take a while because all of your stats and skills, well, not your skills, but all of your stats are scaled down to that of a level 30, even if you're level 80 or something. So, I mean, just keep that in mind. You don't want to get surprised and, oh, I'm a lot weaker than I should be. But make sure, if you have any condition damage, make sure that you keep any stacks, like for bleed, keep those stacks pretty high. I was trying to rotate my scatter shot or whatever and my shrapnel grenade so that I'd keep my bleeds up on her, because that dot damage on these single target enemies or bosses is actually pretty significant and can shorten the fight. So yeah, just make sure that you dodge when you can if you're paying attention, and just spank, spank, spank. Okay, and now when the boss goes down, you'll want to have someone grab a boulder, because when you, as you can see, head down here, there's going to be a gate that's closed. What you want the boulder for is you'll want to drop it on top of the small pressure plate, and then it'll be like your regular pressure plate stuff, and open up the gate into the next room. And this next room isn't really all that difficult. It seems fairly intimidating your first time. You'll have a lot of flame traps that are going to shoot fireballs everywhere. They don't really deal too much damage, but just make sure that you stay mobile. We had our melee character, or characters, because our warrior had a gun as well, attack the ones that were at about ground level, and all of our ranged people attacked the ones that were higher up so that we wouldn't have to worry about them. You don't have to do this, you can just run up and turn off the thing, but we decided to do it because it was just easier. And I'm kind of glad that we did, because as you can see shortly, someone accidentally aggroed a bunch of mobs up the stairs, which you don't have to kill, but if you want to kill everything in the dungeon, by all means, go ahead. I mean, we just wanted to save time, because the first time I did this instance, it took us forever, because these things are actually fairly hard. You'll end up wanting to go through the stuff slowly and think about what you're doing. Not sure what happened there, if it was FPS lag, but I apologize in advance to anybody who might be watching this. But we had this pull-up here was, I believe, 2 rangers and a warrior maybe, or just 2 rangers, but standard stuff for rangers, make sure you avoid their traps. I can't stress this enough, avoid the traps. And once you finish them off, you'll be able to go into the next room, and the next room is kind of simple. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, so I'm trying to stall it out. You'll get this layer thing right here, and what you'll want to do is you'll want to stack all sorts of AoE so you can kill whatever comes out. They're fairly weak, it shouldn't be too hard, and then just keep hammering away at the destructible object, and you should be through it fairly fast. I mean, there's not much else I can say to it. Even a monkey could finish this part right here fairly easily without dying. And yeah. Okay, and then the door opens up to this next room. We had a few difficulties. It'll be a pull of a mesmer, a warrior, and an elementalist. Make sure you pull this group back into this room. I can't stress this enough. Again, more stuff to stress, go figure. Stay away and out of those elementalist AoEs, they hurt. Keep that warrior locked down and away from anybody who's squishy or anybody who doesn't want to get stunned. And this mesmer, keep an eye out. As you might have noticed, he popped a little bubble which will reflect all projectiles. I didn't know that the first few times, so that was a pain. But what happened was, We wiped a few times, and one of the times we barely managed to kill one of the mobs, so we only had 2 to deal with that time. So if you're confused, that's what happened. And at the top here, you'll encounter another mini-boss of sorts. This one's another melee-based mini-boss, so you'll want to keep your distance if you're ranged. Make sure you avoid any attacks with a long wind-up. And if you get low, make sure you kite out and heal up, because if you're wasting your time getting a downed person up, like right here, you're losing DPS, losing crowd control, losing support. I mean, it all depends on which person is resurrecting the person that's down. I personally, if you are watching this and you haven't figured this out already, I would not recommend trying to resurrect somebody from the actual dead state during a fight, because it wastes too much time, and unless you have everybody on there for a few seconds at a time coordinated, you're just really going to lose DPS, lose crowd control, and just die. If you die in this instance, like die, unless the boss is almost dead, it's generally better to respawn to a waypoint and run back. It's kind of a long run to everything until you get further, because as you kill bosses later, you get waypoints up here, but we don't have that yet, or you won't have that yet at this point, so make sure you try to respawn intelligently, I'm gonna say. Yeah, make sure you keep distance, crowd controls. I'm going to repeat this over and over and over. Crowd controls are amazing. Don't underestimate them. Use them as much as you can, even if the boss is resistant to it. If it does go off, depending on the cooldown, it's definitely worth it. Okay, this boss up here, fairly simple. The first time I ran this boss, we didn't have a problem. I'm not sure exactly what happened this run. I kept this bit just because, even though we wiped, it does show you his boss mechanic, so to speak. What he'll do is he'll spawn, I think about 15 or so trash mobs, which are really low health versions of whatever trash you've been clearing out for the rest of the dungeon. So necromancers, elementalists, warriors, rangers, I think, and whatnot. So same tactics goes for all of them. Focus whatever you want to. A lot of those actually do have AoEs and will use AoEs, so it's kind of hard to say, hey, make sure you focus us first. But to make matters worse, this boss is going to jump in after a bit and start hammering away at you. So kite him, but focus the ads. You aren't going to want to deal with the boss while trying to kill the ads, so just save yourself the trouble and go straight to killing the ads. And if you have to go a second time, don't get completely, demoralized. Even if you're good at this or have some knowledge beforehand, it's entirely possible that something will go wrong. Okay, a few things about this boss. As you can see right there, he has a long wind-up knockdown. Save your dodges to get away from that. Like you can see here, I'm using my crowd control on him so that people, our squishies, can get away from him. And occasionally he'll do that, or it's a little late now, but he'll jump up and he'll slam the ground, and that'll knock everything back. See? So once he starts kind of crouching and jumping up, you can dodge out of the way. And just if you're melee, make sure you time these dodges really well, because you aren't going to want to get knocked down, because once you get knocked down, he's going to start hitting you for quite a lot of damage, and he hits really, really hard. And if you're ranged, just make sure that you either have CC available, have CC on him, or you're a pretty good distance away. Other than that, once you get to the actual boss himself, he's not all that hard. I mean, halfway through his health already, kind of, and I've pretty much run out of things to tell you about, other than stressing crowd control, timing your dodges for the attacks that you want to dodge, and whatnot. So, yeah. I mean, not too much I can go over. I've told you guys, mentioned, talking to myself, talking like this. I don't care, it's filling up the space. You don't want to hear nothing the whole entire time because I'm going to cut out the audio. Have cut out the audio if you're watching this from the original videos. But like I said, keep distance, save your dodges for critical times, use CC, and he'll go down in short order. Okay, we decided here to go to the western boss first because you'll get 3 bosses to clear after this. On the other side there's going to be this bridge. There will be 2 mobs. We already cleared them on the other side of the bridge, and a patrol going up and down the stairs to the right. Wait, pull the 2 when the one is down at the bottom of the stairs to the right. You can kind of see it, and just you can pull them past the bridge. Don't pull them too far, otherwise they'll reset. But once you clear them out, walk through the doorway and you'll aggro this cave troll, which is currently kicking our butts. And you can either fight him on the other side and deal with the ads over there, or you can pull him across the bridge like we did. We opted to pull him across the bridge because if you pull him across the bridge, you can potentially de-aggro him, but if he does de-aggro, he'll attack the other mobs, which, I mean, let's face it, if a boss is attacking something other than you, that's not necessarily a bad thing, and it's a win-win. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So we kind of, I suppose you could call it an exploit, but considering that it's mob aggro range, I'm not too worried about it. ArenaNet, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, these things are really hard. This is how we did it. I apologize. But if you do it this way, make sure that you avoid letting him reset, otherwise he'll regain all of his health. And occasionally he'll jump up, like he does right here, I would think, or kind of crouching, and what he'll do is this AoE knockback, and the ring is pretty visible. Just make sure that you save your dodges to get out of that and keep your distance. So, like, as you can see there, we almost got him de-aggroed, but we got him back just in time. So, like I said, guys, make sure you save those dodges for those absolutely critical times. You don't want to get caught. See, you don't want to get caught in that. It hurts a lot and it knocks you back. That's time that you're not spent doing damage, supporting, or whatnot. I decided to cut out the bit where we cleared out trash around this boss because trash should be fairly easy by this point. After the cutscene, you'll enter the first phase of this boss fight. He'll sit up there on his little pillar and shoot AoEs down at random party members occasionally. What we decided to do, and what is probably best, is we kept our ranged people out shooting at him, and we had everybody but our guardian able to attack him, and we just whittled him away. I wasn't able to use most of my abilities, but at least it's safe, slow, and we're not really dying. The guardian, if you're a guardian, you probably already know this. Sanctuary can reflect, absorb, whatnot, projectiles. Wall of reflection you can use if you want to swap it out before the fight, which is perfectly viable, or even your shield abilities. After you get him to a certain threshold, as you can see, he'll jump down onto this, and he'll summon a pet with him that I believe it either cripples or it causes bleeds. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to focus down the pet and just kite the boss. Most of these bosses really hurt if they're melee bosses and they get within melee range, so make sure you keep them away from you if you're a ranged class, or even if you're a melee class. You'll want to play it very carefully. I've said this several times. I know I have, and I've said it several times, but this is very important. Structured instance PvE is extremely different from regular PvE, so remember that. Okay, once he gets to a certain amount of health again, he will again go up to the podium and resume pedestal, pillar, column, and resume phase 1. If you want, as you can see our warrior has done, you can run up the small wooden beam and melee him. I didn't want to do that just because it's safer and easier to avoid AoEs on this, big ledge, rather than if he decides to AoE you and you're standing right next to him, because if you have 1 or 2 people up there, it's really hard to avoid it. And if you do kite poorly, you'll fall off, and that's not really all that good, because then you'll have to run. Once he gets again to another threshold, he'll jump back down, summon another pet, and wail at you again with melee. I would recommend focusing the pet first. We had a little bit of focus issues here. Either that or our AoE damage going out was extremely good, but the boss actually went down before this pet did, which is perfectly fine. It's doable, we survived, but I would recommend focusing the pet because it's the more annoying of the two. And yeah, it's a fairly simple fight. Just make sure that you're staying mobile, spread out on the ledge. There's plenty of room. It's kind of hard to see the red rings, but you'll want to be paying attention to those more than the boss itself if you're a ranged class. Oh, excuse me. Because you're a ranged class, I wasn't using too many abilities, so I wasn't really paying attention to cooldowns. After you finish him off, you will go back to, well, this is how we did it, because we wanted that waypoint towards the east, because it's a really good waypoint for the final boss, and just in general. We went to the western bridge. There's more dungeon towards the north, but we didn't want to clear all of that. And there's a small mob off to the right of the doorway. We decided to clear him out in case somebody had to run back and we accidentally aggroed him. Once you get beyond that doorway, the room on the other side has another one of those destructible layer nest spawny things that is fairly easy. It's probably the easiest thing in this instance, and it gives you event experience. And then, as you can see before that transition, you head down that corridor past the 2 necromancers and you get to the next boss. This is a fairly simple boss. Just avoid the red rings of death that are popping up everywhere, and kill any minions that are attacking you or other party members. As you can see, one just ran up right there off to the right. I'm not sure how much damage they deal. They probably hurt and they're an inconvenience. Eventually, she will summon some other minions that do some sort of buff or invulnerability for her. I'm not sure which it is. Just focus them first. I'll say it again once it comes up, but as you can see right here, I'm trying to avoid all of those AoEs. I got forced all the way back there. And then here's these mobs that I was telling you about. Focus them. I'm not sure what they do. They're buffing her or making her invincible in some fashion, I think. Either way, that's not good. You don't want that to happen either. And it probably gets pretty bad. And after that, she goes back to this. I'm not sure if that's a phase. I can't remember how it went the first time. It might be a phase threshold thing, like the first of these 3 bosses that we did. I'm not sure. As you can see there, I'm getting that add away from our melee classes because I don't want him in there, and I have all the CC in the world as an engineer, so I figured why not keep him out. And as you can see, there's all these hostile AoEs going up, and she has also an AoE fear if you're close enough to her, and she summons these mobs again. This time I think we take a little bit longer to get them down. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's about the same amount of time. I'm not sure. This commentating, narrating thing is a lot harder than it looks or sounds, so I hope you guys appreciate this. But fairly simple fight, I said. First time I did this is my second time, by the way. First time I did this, we got through this one without wiping. I think we might have lost a person or 2 towards the end, but it was fairly simple. Something else of note about this boss, I know one of our guys last night, well, not last night, when we did this, said that boulders were extremely overpowered. They function as CC, they have the potential to knock things down, but as you can see, I picked one up, and on the southern end there's another pressure plate. It opens a shortcut door into this room. This room is the room where it will spawn 2 bosses. I consider them one boss, just 2 entities. But this is kind of tricky. It's going to take up a large chunk of this video. I apologize, but it just goes to say how tough these 2 bosses are. There's a few things that you'll want to keep in mind. You might be noticing these gray circles around them right now. If they get close enough to each other, they will buff each other and give each other shields that reflect projectiles and mitigate damage. If this happens, run behind these, have your party run behind these pillars at the edge. I was telling our guys what to do as we were going, so it kind of took us a little bit to do that, but if you do that correctly, if you know which boss is aggroed on who, they should have to run up towards the top to attack you, which is what you want, because once they separate, they'll lose their shields and their buffs. This boss, the female chick, I don't know her name off the top of my head, I apologize. She's an elementalist type-ish class, so any tactics for elementalists usually is a good idea. Stay out of the AoEs, which they summon quite frequently, and dodge. I didn't quite do too hot for this fight, because if you're paying attention, once she brings her hand back, you can, if you time it right, you can dodge those lightning bolts, because they deal quite a bit of damage. I believe depending on your armor and everything, they can deal like 1,000 damage or something, which once it gives you, you know, a level 30 character's health, that's quite a lot, because it's probably about 1/3 or maybe 1/4 of your health, depending on what class you are. Something else, we split our group into 2 groups. We had everybody but one person, I believe, focusing on the Elementalist because she dishes out most of the damage, and everybody else was focusing on the guy, which is like a Mesmer-based class. I'm not sure what happened the first few times I ran this instance. Once she dropped to a certain threshold, she summoned the guy, I think his name is Visar, and summoned him directly to her within melee distance pretty much, and that instantly gave them the shield. Not sure why it didn't happen here, so if you're running this, keep an open mind. It's entirely possible that it will happen when she reaches the 50% threshold or less. But we had one person keeping Visar locked down on the other side of the room. If Visar got close, I, as an engineer with my 2 knockbacks, would either knock him back and immobilize him, or chill him and slow him down. Visar himself, he can drop an AoE, as you can see off to the left, that I'm not sure if it deals damage and removes conditions, but it deals decent damage, and he can also summon little purple whatever mages, which deal a fairly large chunk of damage if you leave them there and damaging you. It's okay if you die. If you do die and actually die, make sure you respawn right away and run. That shortcut makes it really easy to keep this fight going. As long as there's people in the room attacking the bosses, they won't reset their health, which is really nice. And yeah, there's a few things that I noticed the first time I ran this that you won't see in this video. If you do use knockbacks to try and separate these bosses, be careful where you knock them back. There's a few spots where they can get stuck, which if you want to try and get them stuck, I suppose you can try and do that. It's probably a viable tactic if you know where they get stuck most often. But I wouldn't recommend it because they can just sit there. Although I suppose it's entirely possible to get Visar stuck on one side of the map. But yeah, if you can get one of them down after that, the fight's fairly easy. A few of us died here just because we were already low and they teleported and got their projectile immunity and everything, but yeah, we did fairly good beyond this point. I was pretty happy with how this went. Yeah, not much else to say for this fight. Stay away from your AoEs. If you want, you can have people resurrect Ritlock and Air, as well as her pet. They aren't really a huge damage boost, but they are a little bit of a damage boost. They're there. I suppose it's entirely viable to try and keep them up. You know, nobody likes it when your buddies go down, so, you know, I would try and keep them up. I wouldn't, you know, risk life and limb for the boss fight to try and keep them up or anything, but it's definitely something that's gravy on top of your mashed potatoes. Or sprinkles on top of your ice cream, if that's something that you're into. Either one. I don't know. Yeah. Seems like a really hard fight the first couple times you do it, but in all reality it's fairly simple. Simple mechanics. I think it's just the numbers might be a little bit too high at this point. Who knows? I like the challenge. Definitely a lot more challenging than I thought it would be the first time, and a lot of fun if you have people coordinated. As you can see, we just got to the final boss. He's going to take a large chunk of the video as well, because he has a ton of health, as is befitting the final boss. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead now and start talking about a few of his mechanics. He deals immense damage at melee range. Our Guardian, even though he's tanky and supporty, he learned this the hard way. I think he got incapacitated in maybe 1 or 2 hits, but anyway, watch his swings and avoid them, or if you're ranged, stay away from him altogether. He is very hurtful in more ways than one. So, on to his boss mechanics. As you can see a few times already throughout this video, he has pulled everybody in. When he raises his sword, I dodged when he did it because I thought he was going to pull people. Generally, when he raises his sword, he will pull everybody towards the center and to him. In addition to this, he will drop a bunch of faux fire like he just dropped on me. So watch out for those little red circles. They're really hard to see on the surface on my screen. I'm not sure if there's different settings that you can do, but yeah. I kind of made a silly decision right there. I tried to get our Guardian up, because I know I had that invulnerability, and I thought maybe if I got in there I could heal him up and get him out. Luckily, I didn't pay too dearly for that decision because he was able to get me up fairly quickly after that. But yeah, another tactic that I don't think I've said yet, if I have, I apologize, I'm going to say it again just to keep talking. You can have your ranged classes stay back beyond these pillars that you kind of see occasionally, and if they think that he's going to pull or see him pulling, they can stand behind the pillars and it's not going to pull them in, obviously. Right here we had a near wipe. We had a warrior who luckily brought a banner, and those banners are really helpful. This is a plug for a class, not the actual instance, I'm sorry. They can resurrect everybody once you drop them. So if you're a warrior, I would consider bringing it. It's nice to have to save, your group from a wipe. I think the necromancers, I'm not sure how it works, have an instant revive as well for 3 people or something like that. I don't know. Our necromancers were talking about it and I wasn't really paying attention. I'm sorry. If they're watching this, I apologize to them. I don't mean to be hurtful. I just completely forgot. There was a lot going on. But if you're downed away from him, he's not really going to do anything to you. Occasionally he might drop that faux fire on you, like he does right there, but I got up just in time. So if you're downed, don't waste your time throwing rocks. Heal yourself up. Or have other people heal you. Something that not sure if you've noticed this, as an engineer, sorry, I gotta insert a plug for my class, sorry. As an engineer, your 4 will push you back and knock down your target. I liked to use this in this video, and probably for future instances or videos. When he'd pull me back, I'd use it as an escape mechanism rather than a dodge to get away from him. You can use it for straight up damage too. It deals pretty good damage, but I would use it as an escape. Running up, using my scatter gun or whatever, buckshot, getting that off, getting the stacks of bleed, dodging out, getting out of there. That's something that you want to do. If you have to get in close, stay close for only as long as you have to, and then get out. But other than that, I don't have much else to say about this fight, this instance, or anything else. So, enjoy the rest of the video. Again, thanks for watching. This is Mage, or Fizz, from NSI Gaming. Shameless plug for the guild. Feel free to join us on Anvil Rock. Hit me up, message me. My in-game name is Fizzle McFizz. See you around.